They said Gray paved the way, changed the rain, released the pain, leaves you sane, getting paid, trend setting, brighter days, doper rap, tighter sets, high and deadly, I'm a fighter jet, journey.
What's good, everyone? It's the Urban Wrestling Network. I'm Rob Kamerer, host of the MLW Fusionv podcast, and right now looking like a melted Joe Dombrowski. With me, though, to make up in the looks department is my man, Muffins Martinez. We are breaking down MLW Fusionv, specifically episode 189. A lot of stuff happened to kind of get the ball rolling here. Very much WTF heavy. And for those of you not in the know, that's the World Titan Federation, not what the fuck, which it can go either way depending on what your opinion is on everyone there. But yeah, so we got a lot of stuff to kind of like gloss over, a lot of seeds planted for the future. So we'll just jump right into things. Highlight video for the main event, which we'll talk about ad nauseum. We do get the official announcement that Matt Cardona will be taking on the winner of Jacob Fatu, Alex Kane at MLW One Shot in December, with the caveat, though, that he has to beat Mance Warner this coming month in the Loser Leaves Town match. So I'm curious, and they kind of clarified this after the fact, after Fusion aired like Friday morning, that if Cardona does not win his match against Manders, that MSL does get to choose a replacement person for it. So it kind of clarified from like for my podcast where they didn't announce that yet, and so I speculated wildly of what things could mean while they did answer that question technically after the fact. But first match, they just jump right into things. It is Talon versus Mance Warner. Like I didn't time it, but I'm just going to pretend it was 30 seconds.
Yeah, this was a complete squash. I don't know. I mean, I'm sorry, but the calling has definitely lost a lot of steam from when it started with, Delirious, Mandy Leon, Raven being there. Now is what? Shane Page and Akira, and then they just brought in a Talon, a Cannonball, and then a bunch of other guys who no one knows what the hell's going on.
Nameless goons.
Yeah, Talon. I mean, he looks like he could actually wrestle because he was trying to do a lot of moves off the top rope, but this was just basically a squash match by
Mance
Warner.
Yeah, and
he barely took off his jacket, and when he finally did, he just hit a knee, and that was it.
Yeah, knee pad up, knee pad down. I really honestly, the biggest take from this match is that Talon is still alive. He survived his spot in the chair of torture. Other than that, it was a squash match. There, what is there to talk about? Just a little bit more fodder for the Calling versus Second Gear Crew, which is nowhere near.
And I'm surprised. Yeah, I'm surprised that Manser just came out and just destroyed the dude. So, and then you kind of go to yourself like, so what's the point of the calling anymore?
Yeah, because they did establish that Talon is actually decent in the ring. I at one point I did try to look him up and the dude can go, because he was doing in his first appearance he was doing swantons and stuff with that with the trench coat on, which is crazy, go nuts. So I'm not sure what the big picture purpose of this match is outside of just kind of a further continuation of the feud.
But I think pretty soon we're going to see the dissolvement of the whole calling, and I'm here for it. I think it's time to dissolve it already. Yeah,
no offense intended towards any of the members, but I think especially with Raven no longer appearing, it's kind of it's they're trying to cut the head off Hydra, except it wasn't Hydra, it was just a snake. And so a lot of the calling imagery kind of is lacking without Raven. Not that Ricochet and Page or Akira aren't good characters on their own, but they don't always fit kind of this spooky avant-garde narrative that the calling has brought forth.
Well, and they had it as Raven being the mastermind of everything. Yeah. So you have some kind of star power behind it, and then not even 2 months into the pay-per-views, we've never seen Raven since. Not one speech, not one anything. Not even showing up a picture of him, nothing. We've seen Don King more
recently, yeah. I was gonna make a Don King joke there, but you kind of beat me to it.
Yeah, we've seen him more, and he's gonna be supposedly at the show next week talking. then Raven has been this whole starting of the calling. So it's definitely time to pull the plug on the calling.
Yeah, it's one of those. I think the group definitely needs to kind of evolve away from the original.
Yeah, like the pause. Yeah, I have no pause anymore for the
Yeah.
calling. It's done.
But yeah, they planted the seeds, and we'll kind of discuss that more in the main event. So going from there, we get a batch of things. I'll kind of lump them all together. That Matt Cardona got a car, preemptively rewarded for his championship victory coming up in December. He made out with the car. That like it's a BMW. Why are you making out with it? We also had a misdirection match. That was supposed to be Jacob Fatu versus Mr. Thomas. They found Mr. Thomas in the garbage. We don't need to make any further jokes about that,
Yeah.
but that kind of helps set up kind of the whodunit that we'll see towards the end, involving Alex Kane, Jacob Fatu, and all that sort of good stuff. Filthy Tom gets some talking about, and I do want to just touch on this briefly as well, because they're finally kind of referencing a full WTF takeover of MLW with this segment with Tom Lawler, where MSL actually does kind of lay down the kind of like flat out just says like we are going to take over MLW and remake it in our own image. And he actually specifically cites kind of like we have in the past of the deathmatch stylings being kind of a bust and dragging MLW down. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't care too much for none of the stuff there, all those big names with the WTF guys, but I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of fans have thought the same thing, that all these hardcore stuff matches, things that have been taking over the show for the last couple of months, has been dragging the show down. Because, before it was basically wrestling how it's supposed to be, and then they went to this hardcore phase. And hopefully before the end of the year, they'll close this chapter and say, well, we tried, it didn't work out. We'll start in January, fresh with going back to something else. So
I just thought it was interesting that they brought that up. And then concurrently with that, we've kind of referenced it in the past as well. Now we have we're having the potential hostile takeover from WTF.
Yeah.
And then whatever moves Selena De La Renta is playing, because she's always got something. Like she may not be an overt like take over the company threat, but she's also going to, I will call it metaphorically, take over the company by holding all the gold, because that's where the money is. So I'm kind of I'm still kind of curious how this is going to play out, just because right now they are working together, as we saw last week with MSL basically handing over a stack of bribe information over there. But enough with the backstage stuff. We do have our second match, our first real match of the evening. Beaumaye member Jay Bougie taking on the debuting Brett Ryan Goslin, victorious BRG. What did you think?
I saw the match. I didn't think I was gonna like the match, because I didn't know who that other guy was, Brian, whatever his name was, Goslin. But he did pick up the win. Unfortunately, I didn't see anything special about Mr. Goslin, so I will hold that to hopefully next time he'll show some more. But it was straight and forward. I'm thinking Bougie's gonna win this match, because, like I said, I didn't know who the guy was. Something so this is gonna be a warm-up match for Bougie and keep the momentum going for the Beaumaye club. All right, cool. And then Goslin comes out and does a little flip, holds the top rope for leverage, and gets the win. And I'm like, okay, did not see that coming. But
that was like honestly the biggest shock for me. Once I saw like who he was, facing in his debut, I was like, okay, well, this is going to help build Bougie into, since he's a member of the Beaumayes, you got to keep them looking good, especially he's kind of their middleweight representative. And so I'm kind of like, okay, well, this will be an opportunity to see what Goslin can do, and then Bougie will pick up a hard-fought victory, and we'll know what a BRG is, and Bougie will stay strong. And it was none of that. So honestly, that was my biggest surprise of the night. And Goslin, I'm going to reserve some of my opinion on it. It was a solid match. There was nothing wrong with the match itself, but I don't know. I don't know if I just set my expectations too high with him or not, because like they really like hammered home in like the original, and I didn't do full on like go study tape of him or anything like that, but I looked to see like just to see how long he's been in the business, see where he's came from, and etc. Yeah. And like I was really expecting almost like a more character driven wrestler. Because they really kind of hammered home the point of like the Ryan Gosling part, and like his like and all of like his promo packages involve him looking like Ken, and then he comes out in just kind of like generic black tights, wrestles just a very basic style, and like, oh, okay, well
like,
that's
like nothing stood up for me as to why should I care about BRG. Like nothing stood up. And you said it was a solid match.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
Nothing. Bougie stood out. I seen Bougie. He did his thing. BRG. Okay, let's see what you got. I didn't see anything. Like I didn't see anything special. I didn't see anything at all. But I'm pretty sure this has happened before because they did it with Love Dog before. I didn't see anything with Love Dog, and then by his second, third match, the dude could wrestle his ass off. I'm like, okay, they finally let him go. So I'm hoping this will happen with BRG at the next tapings in November or just whenever he comes back. And it's okay. You have you put your feet in the water. We're going to let you jump in now and go and show them what you could do. So that's what I'm hoping for. So we'll see what happens. But
and the difference between him and Love Dog is Love Dog really established his character before he had the match. So like he was a gimmick, whereas Gosling, like they really didn't like his gimmick that they kind of put out there was the whole Ken thing, and then he came out and wrestled generic wrestler number 5. And again, this can change like.
And he looks similar to Brian Gosling. I mean,
and they didn't even play like he didn't even play like anything like that up in the match too. Like they didn't be like, "Hey, I'm good looking," or "Don't touch my face," or he just came out, wrestled, like called everyone stupid, and just went along with it. Like maybe if they give him a mic later, we can change our mind. It's a first match. Like we're getting into.
Sweet victory.
That was and that's like one of his nicknames on the indies is like Victorious BRG. Victory, so but we'll see where it's going. Like again, at least nothing else. Like it's something to build on.
Yes,
looking at the positive spot. Like he didn't come out and poop the bed and had a garbage match. And I just like my big complaint is just like I kind of wish they did like we got to see that Bougie got a bigger spotlight out of the deal since he is the established talent compared to the two, but yet hasn't really had a chance to break out so much on his own yet. But yeah, so moving kind of along with that, we get again. There's a bunch of backstage stuff that kind of goes along. It's a lot of the whodunit with involving Mr. Thomas, and they're really trying to point fingers that it was Fatu who took out Mr. Thomas. And spoiler alert, it's not. But which I figure we all kind of figure that kind of stuff because Fatu at this stage in his career is a bit more in your face. Like, so if he's going to sneak attack you, he's going to sneak attack you, not your friends. But hilarious things come at the end. But leading that comes into our main event for the MLW Tag Team Championships tables match, technically elimination style. The Calling, who are the champions, taking on the Second Gear Crew, represented by the One Called Manders and Matthew Justice. The point of this match is to put your opponents through the table. Each member of the team has to go through the table for it to continue. Otherwise, no DQs. Chaos ensues.
Man, like I said before, I'm not a humongous person when it comes to these type of matches. The last couple of times I've seen them, they've been kind of good. I didn't like this one that much because a lot of weird things were going on, especially when Cannonball comes out to help the guys, knocks both of those guys out, and then he just kind of just gets up and walks off. And I'm like, well, why would you come down for that and then walk right back to why can't you stay there, observing what's going on?
Or help actually win the match.
Yeah,
like it's great that he helped turn the tide of the match, but if there's no DQs, why stop there? But he literally just kind of like stumbled out, did a couple of big squishes. He literally squished the second gear crew, then just left the ring and wandered up to the back, and we don't see him for another 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, he took an afternoon stroll to the ring, destroy somebody, and left. Okay, I'm going back now. And then the screwy finish, how they did it, with both people going to the table. I'm thinking to myself, okay, that is. I'm like, sure.
Yeah. And it kind of fit the overall tone of the match. I will say once again, like in ring, bell to bell, like for the most part, I found the match was fine. Like I'm okay with wild brawls. I'm okay with tables matches. They didn't lean into like some of like the real death match tropes. So this was just a brawl that involved tables. So like they didn't go all out with that. That's fine. But yeah, it was a bit overbooked for the most part. Like I there was a lot of needless interference to be had with it, like to start the party where the second gear crew were jumped to start the party, Cannonball coming in and then really not doing anything to help with an overall victory, and then the fact that they called the match a draw, which I mean I get it from a rules standpoint from doing that, but like dude, like tables matches are kind of supposed to have a finish. Like that's kind of what they're designed to do, is to make sure somebody wins, even if it's hook or crook. Maybe have Cannonball come in and put someone through the table. Oh, it counts. Yes. No DQs, but leaves the door open. And this one was just like, nope. The ref's just like, both guys went through a table. Good enough. I'm going home.
Yeah.
And so then the crowd even hated that.
And then afterwards, Cannonball returns.
Yeah, like it all just broke down. It broke down from there again too. Like, and I will say at the start of the breakdown, like I put it on Twitter. I put it in the podcast. Mark it on the calendar. I approve of One-Called Bander's actions at least once. So like it physically hurt me to do that, and I spent like the next like half hour like retching and in the fetal position. But the One-Called Manders started this whole party by taking out the obviously biased referee with a nasty clothesline.
No, he clotheslined the shit out of that ref. I was like, oh damn!
Took the dude's head off, and then from there we get a further schmoz where the rest of the calling come back out. And we brawl, and I was literally thinking like, I wonder if Mance is gonna come help his friends, and then actually he did. So like, great. So they turned the tide. Mance gets on the mic and basically delivers a pep talk to the boys of like, hey, like we've been here all this time, we've not sniffed gold. Like, what can we do to change this? Yep. And Justice gets on and basically it didn't actively challenged, but laid down a gauntlet, set the seeds for a ladder match at some time in the future. Didn't specify whether it's just going to be regular tag or if it's going to be a 6-man kind of affair. But
it should be a regular tag match.
You think that? Well, you'd hope that, but they all members, like he referenced kind of like all three members of the second gear crew's specialties of Mance just being violent, the boss of the plains pulling the cart along, and then Justice himself being willing to jump off of any tall thing that's happened to be put in front of him. So they've kind of implied that it might, that it might be kind of like, we'll call it a Freebird rule situation, kind of thing.
Yeah, and you hang up the titles up high, have to go up there. Either one person or both people have to go up there to get the belts and see. And I'm pretty sure, and I'm hoping that this happens at the November pay-per-view.
Yeah, because they have
instead of December. So
yeah, I'm trying to think of like the time frame. Time is all running together on me. Because we got a couple of weeks yet, so we got at least I would say at least one or two more matches that need to be announced. I think
what the pay-per-view is November 18th.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think we got 2 more weeks for that. And actually, this is the first time I want to say in 2 years where they actually finally have their pay-per-view and their tapings perfectly right after. So yeah. So it's perfect. It's going perfect. So now there's no more late tapings and stuff like that. It is being right on top, right there. So now to the 18th, 2 more weeks, they'll have enough matches for that for the next 2 weeks. Another pay-per-view, and then you do the tapings, and keep doing it like that. You have it in a nice calendar week now, or a month where you have it. So I'm hoping this tag team happens at the November 18th show and not December. So
yeah. Well, I think it'll depend on how whether they want to go a 6-man or just a tag team.
Or tag
Because if they're going to go 6-man, they'll probably wait till December. But if they just do a regular tag team, it could be done at Fightland. Just because Mance already has that match with Matt Cardona.
Yeah.
Too. So I doubt they'll have him pull double duty on, especially for a match that will be that brutal with the ladder match, because that's just going to be nothing but crazy spots.
Yeah, and they also have Jimmy Lloyd, right? Like a part.
Yeah, kind of an auxiliary member of the second gear crew,
Yeah,
an
so
ally.
If they don't have Warner there, they'll have Lloyd, back up the second gear crew or whatever. So,
and that's fair too. I'm not a big Jimmy Lloyd fan, so I just don't like thinking about him.
Well, yeah, I don't think any type of him climbing any type of ladder, but
but that kind of chaos is his wheelhouse. He is a deathmatch guy. Like that is what he is known for. Both him and Cannonball really are like just straight up deathmatch guys.
And I'm surprised I still haven't seen any type of light bulbs like their matches yet.
And
if I see light bulbs, I'm gonna start freaking out. I'm done with this nonsense.
Well, and see, this is where deathmatch fan here. A lot of venues like that, like light tubes, is something that's venue based. There are venues and state commissions. Like I think Pennsylvania is one of the ones that allow you to do light tubes.
Okay.
The Athletic Commission. So light tubes is really dependent on where you're taking them. So like even CZW. Yeah, here's your history lesson for the day. Like CZW, who has their big tournament of death every year, like they're based out of Philadelphia usually. Though they've moved with Jay Hyde taking over, they've kind of moved closer to the coast. But they would always they would do all their shows in Philly except for Tournament of Death, and they would take that out to Delaware because Philadelphia wouldn't let you use light tubes. A couple of the other, we'll say more gross, potentially gross and injurious aspects.
And that's a good history because I was aware that their different states have rules for stuff like that. So that was the first time. So that was good to you told those guys.
I'll throw them out under the bus. IWA Mid-South used to run a lot in the Peoria, Illinois area, but they kind of had to refocus some of their cards because the building they were in, they were initially willing to put up with a lot of the deathmatch stuff, but then they were I don't know if they just if the venue just wasn't getting cleaned properly, or if it's just one of those things like no matter how well you cleaned it, they were still finding glass everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you can't. It's like glitter. You can't get rid of it. They just finally just said no, you can't do the light tubes part of it, and so it changed some of the strategy of the match booking and the card booking, and so they would.
You're right, man. You're right. That whole cleaning, and then you definitely gonna have to do a deep cleansing of every bit and corner you could find because of blood. So I mean that's gotta be a hectic 1 day, 2 day cleaning, man. Just going there and washing everything just from top to bottom.
Yeah. I think that's why we have one of the reasons MLW hasn't necessarily gone full deathmatch.
God, and I hope because they do, I'm out.
Yeah. Oh, and I will say as a whole, just kind of pulling back the veil of things. It's hard to get some of the violence or depicted violence on certain providers with the deathmatch stuff because it's a weird hypocrisy because we acknowledge that pro wrestling is a scripted sport, that that these guys aren't necessarily these guys don't always hate each other, it's all a work, but they like to draw a line on something like the blood stuff because it's too realistic, and so YouTube also does it, which it does it in a weird way, but it's very much anti that violence. So if YouTube's your main show for it, sometimes you gotta watch you can bleed all this much, but you can't make them bleed doing X, Y, and Z too. So I think that's been kind of a stopping point for some of this stuff as well.
For future references, when you give us tidbits like this that are important, I need you to put that Debo hat on. That you got
I've gotten out of the habit.
Put that on, and then give us the tidbits like you just gave us about the blood in different states and cities and stuff like that. Because, like I said, I never knew that, and I was never aware that different states had different laws for stuff like that. So that's where the Debo hat boop comes on.
It doesn't have
It
the
was
same
a
effect
history lesson.
without Chef here to like laugh at it and
Yeah.
like gesture wildly as it on.
Yeah,
But yeah,
see,
so
that's where the thinking cap comes on. Like, okay, kids, here we go. Boop.
there goes my professor cap. We're going to school right now because the hat is on.
Here's a history lesson by Uncle Rob K. Uncle K is gonna give you the history lesson. Boop. There he goes. Because oh shit, it's Uncle K's time. History lesson. That'd be cool because, like I said, that's news to me, and I'm pretty sure that's news to a lot of people about, different laws in different states and different cities and stuff like that. So
there we go. We need to bring Chef back. Let you guys just talk, do the commentary of the show, and then you just like, oh, here's a good point. Let's get some clarification, and then I can pop up with my hat on. Well, and I can like do the science or the history of whatever.
We should have like a little graphic. Uncle K's corner up, and then the hat comes on. Well, kids, here's today's history lesson or history rules that you might not know.
You can say, here's the background of insert this debut.
Yes.
This guy's been wrestling for 10 years out of the CZW Wrestling Academy.
Yes, stuff like that. That'd be kind of cool, man. That would be a good idea. But yeah, that's when the hat's got to come in.
Yeah, I even start leaving the hat out.
Once you put it on, we know something important is about to get dropped. The knowledge, the gem of Rob K is getting dropped right now because the hat is on. Let's lay back and listen to the man, the Professor K, tell it, and they were like, "Ooh, the tidbit of the week."
There we go. Here's our wrestling nerdom.
Yes,
of the moment.
But thank you for that because, like I said, I wasn't aware, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us weren't aware of rules like that. So now I see why it's hard to do wrestling shows at specific locations and cities and states and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a whole bunch of weird stuff, especially for a few states that still have like active like athletic commissions. So it's why Pat comes back on since we're wasting time just talking about random stuff. Yeah, it's also why Chuck Taylor technically was wrestling for 4 years, but couldn't wrestle in his home state. He didn't get to wrestle a home show, despite being in the business for 3 or 4 years before it happened, because he was another one of those guys who started wrestling before his 18th birthday. And Kentucky is actually very much age consent. So you actually have to be an adult to wrestle in Kentucky. So he lived on the Illinois-Indiana border. And you just cross the river where Illinois, they don't care.
No, you have to be exactly 18 or 21.
18, I believe. Really, in Kentucky. And in Illinois, they didn't care, so he would wrestle a lot in Southern Illinois.
Yeah, and I've been seeing a lot of young people now, 16, 17, wrestling in specific cities and states that are allowed. And I'm like, no, this person is 16 and they could wrestle already on the show, or 17, but yeah, now it began to make sense that it's probably New Jersey and stuff like that upstate. They have maybe some kind of age limit that where they're allowed. In Mexico, we know they can be years old. And
Mexico and Japan is pretty bad at times too with starting them young.
Well, like Stardom. Yeah, a lot of
the Joshis specifically, will start at the age of 9, even though they won't necessarily formally debut until their late teens.
Yes, but they're part of the crew. They're doing the cleaning, the setting up of the rings, so they learn that part, and then they train them, and then when they feel comfortable, they'll give them the opening spot for a 3-minute showcase, and you see this 10, 11-year-old girl just doing flips, and then you're like, damn, 11 years old already? So you're like, wow, 12?
Yeah. And there's some for that. Yeah. And there's some famous examples of it. I know a lot of people have used it against Kenny Omega, but Kenny Omega has wrestled a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
But you know who people don't talk shit about? Minoru Suzuki. Angry Murder Grandpa also wrestled a 9-year-old, but no one's ragging on him because he will
Wasn't
kill
that
you.
the same girl?
I think so.
And didn't she beat both of them?
I don't know about Suzuki. I don't think I've watched the full match.
Okay.
She technically beat Omega.
Okay.
No, it wasn't clean. It wasn't a clean pinfall.
Yeah, and she looked amazing. I want to see how she's. I want to see how she is now, and she's still wrestling now. Still.
She's probably retired because she's a 20-year veteran, and
yeah, right.
Which I shouldn't joke because actually that's kind of legit with the Joshi stuff. Like the Joshi window is usually ridiculously small just because they start so young.
You know, she just turned 19. Well, I'm a 10-year vet.
Yeah.
How old are you? 10-year vet? You just turned 19.
Oh, but you know, and we can laugh at it, but like that's 10 years of bumps. Like that's you know, doing that for so long. Like
you know, because everybody likes to throw out the years that they've been in wrestling. Well, I'm 19 years old. I've been wrestling for 11 years. I started when I was 8, and I beat Kenny Omega. That was like, okay, shit. You got your 5-star match already.
Yeah.
Before there were 5-star matches. well, Rob K, we're just bumbling on off. So just
we've done our history corner. We've moved on from MLW, moved on to our wrestling history corner and wrestling promoting politics.
And you know me, you throw me at one word and I go from there to something else.
Exactly. Yeah, we were done with MLW like 10 minutes ago. So like we're gonna have a whole separate audience just for the Rob K history corner.
The wrestling show. Now stay tuned for Rob K's corner of the history of wrestling.
There you go. Send your questions in, boys and girls. Maybe I'll answer them on the next episode.
Yes.
But you can do that in the comment section below. Be sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, because that way if there's a potential whether I answer your question or not. Follow us on all the social medias at Urban Wrestle NW. I'm at the Nova of Cass. This pod, if you're watching on YouTube, you can also find us in audio format on Spotify or wherever else you happen to get your podcasts. MLW Confusion drops every Friday morning. That's hosted by Spotify for podcasters, but it can be found pretty near anywhere as well. So I think that about wraps all that good stuff up. Thank you all. Hit up any of the links that we throw down below as well. Hit our merch shops, all that good stuff. We're out of here.
Deuces.